Since I was 14 years old, I always wore cowboy boots. Maybe because my little boy role models were always the men in the black hats. Richard Boone in Have Gun Will Travel, Robert Vaughn in The Magnificent Seven, silent killers. Men with pasts, men from somewhere else who found themselves in the great American West. A place where reinvention, a new life, was always possible. As long as you were willing to kill for it.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Found something good in this beautiful world. I felt the rain getting colder.
The Western myth has pretty much captured the American imagination. None of us can escape it. For ages, we identified ourselves with the image of the lone cowboy, the perception of frontier values, self-sufficiency, rugged individualism, the freedom of wide-open spaces. Few places in America still manage to embody that mythic landscape of the imagination, like the state of New Mexico. What does freedom mean? It's different things to everybody, it seems, but something about this place manages to catch the overlap between a whole hell of a lot of very different cultures. Old Route 66 runs through New Mexico like a collapsed vein, right through Santa Fe and Albuquerque. It must have seemed like magic once. Families loaded into massive chrome and steel chariots with powerful V8 engines and took off down that blacktop highway. They slept in whimsical motor lodges and bungalows, swam in kidney-shaped pools. Then it all went redundant. Route 66 was decommissioned, chopped up, largely forgotten, except by desperate and lazy travel show hosts.
Does anyone else on CNN do this, like drive around like 10, 15 at night looking for tacos? Yeah, probably.
I'll say this, the Strip takes on a much more interesting look at night. You can imagine Dennis Hopper huffing nitrous and dismembering somebody over an unrolled tarp in any one of those sinister-looking motel rooms. Cool.
Well, hopefully the tacos first, because after you do the meth, you really aren't going to want to eat. In ancient times, early drivers would hang the testicles of their enemies on their rearview mirrors.
Best case scenario around here, in my humble opinion, taco truck, of which there are quite a few. Parking lot, the smell of mystery parts on a griddle, yes.
Could I have one asada, one pastor, and one lengua, please?
Knowing my love of all things Mexican, you might expect me to be eating tacos for the next hour.
Got to adopt the wide stance. Damn you, taco spillage. Come for the vistas, stay for the tacos. Per magazine of steel-jacketed destruction as fast as your finger can pull the trigger. You might well ask yourself, why the hell would anybody need a weapon like this?
There we go.
The AR-15 is one of the weapons most reviled by gun opponents It's also America's favorite rifle.
Never thought I'd say that a guy from New York's a natural when it comes to shooting an AR-15 in New Mexico, but I'm impressed.
As a nation, we love them. There are about 4 million in circulation. Those are the facts.
Basically, AR-15 is a semi-automatic civilian version of an M16. And the funny thing is that in relation, this gun is almost identical to this gun, but this is the one that's evil. Shoots the same caliber, same magazine capacity, just looks a little different.
I'm an East Coast guy. I'm a New Yorker. But culturally, I come from a place where a glimpse of a weapon on somebody at a bar, in the street, it is reason for panic. Here and in much of America, in between New York and LA, you walk into a bar and you see somebody with a weapon. It's like, that's my neighbor. Maybe he's going hunting. Maybe he's, who knows? Most people own guns?
Everybody I know.
Everybody.
Pretty much everybody. I had a rifle before I had a baseball bat.
Meet Jesse, Bill, Bo, and Daniel. Pretty much who we are talking about when we see the latest stats on gun purchases in America and shake our heads uncomprehendingly. That cultural divide, much more than policy, is what's kept the issue of gun control so polarized and so, frankly, hopeless.
He had a gun before he had a baseball bat. I'm in the same situation. I was shooting a BB gun when I was 5 years old, and I knew at that time it wasn't a toy, it was a weapon, and I was very well educated by my father on the responsible use of that piece of equipment, and that's what's critical to me.
I shoot all the time, and I'm always trying to shoot better than I did last week. It's relaxing, you're out with friends, it's fun.
There's a dark little genie in all of us, I think, that wants to pick up a gun, point it at something, and blast away.
This is a new Springfield Arm 9mm with a 19-round clip.
You know the reasons
I like guns. I don't own a gun, but I like holding them. I like shooting them.
The Glock 22, it's chambered in a 40 caliber.
There is something compelling, an eerie rush, an unholy sense of empowerment feeling the warm glow of these heavy, iconic shapes in your hands.
Get off my lawn, you kids.
That's a .357 Magnum. It's an 8-shot revolver.
Bigger kick on this guy, yes?
A little bit.
You just can't help silently mouthing, "Make my day," or "Feeling lucky, punk."
every time they just get in the way.
You do this all day.
Whatever your opinion on the subject, fact is, gun culture runs deep in this country.
This one I grew up with, yeah. I shot my very first turkey with this gun at 12 years old, actually. That's a 22 rimfire cartridge, and that is probably the type of firearm that most kids start off with.
These guys, I'm guessing, are not people I should be worried about. They are nice and exceedingly patient with the city boy who wants to play with their guns.
That there's a .338 Winchester Magnum. That's a big cartridge, heavy bullet, kind of for very large game like elk. There's a target up on that hillside. Can you see it?
Now watch Mr. New York City liberal shoot that target out there from 244 windswept yards.
Oh, wow. Now, am I accounting for windage, dropping, and wind distant? What?
Yeah, you want to aim 13 millimeters to the left, 4 millimeters high, and you'll hit dead center.
Left?
No, hold right on. I'm just giving
hold
you
right on?
I was just making a joke.
Damn. Taking advantage of the city boy.
And that wind's got to be 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, holding a rifle in this wind without a brace, it's tough.
All eyes are on you, no pressure. Pretty close, huh?
Yeah, he may have been a hair left. Just a little high that time, I think. Little right.
Shooting real good though, Tony.
I mean, you're not missing it by much.
If you were elk hunting, you'd be hitting him.
Exhale, pull and squeeze.
The biggest thing is just let it surprise you. As you're pulling the trigger, squeeze it slow, and every time it goes off, it should surprise you. That way you don't flinch.
That looked right on. That looked right on to me.
I gotta tell you, I'm proud of myself. I was like, I was somewhere in the neighborhood.
He's a natural.
Do you think that like people who just don't like the idea of guns, if they had a day out here shooting targets,
definitely.
I suspect a fair number of them would at least temper their views somewhat.
1,000%, absolutely.
And you definitely get a respect for the power of it, for sure.
Generally speaking, me and these guys, I think should feel free to buy all the guns we want. It's the rest of you I'm not so sure about.
Oh, I know how to shoot beer cans. When the zombie apocalypse comes, I'll be ready. As long as they're holding beers. So when I grew up, when I was a kid, I played Cowboys and Indians. The cowboy myth had such a grip on American self-identity.
I remember playing Cowboys and Indians. It was just part of the culture. You looked up to John Wayne, Steve McQueen. My kid, 12 years old, wouldn't even think about cowboys.
This is David Manzanares. His family has lived here for generations, tracing their roots all the way back to the Spanish conquistador.
Those cliff walls out there, Tony, are like 160 million years old, and the ones on the bottom about 220. And they're all the way back to the Triassic area.
And this is Ghost Ranch, next door to David's spread. This is the area where Georgia O'Keeffe spent the last and most productive decades of her life.
Now you've walked into her painting. But this is what she called my country. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I even knew who Georgia O'Keeffe was.
Really?
Grew up with her being like a grandmother. It took me going out to LA and going into a gallery out there. I saw these paintings and like an idiot. I said, why do you got pictures of my house? And she said, please, take a step back. That's Georgia O'Keeffe's. It's just gonna get prettier. It's just gonna get prettier.
One of O'Keeffe's biographers infamously described this landscape, which had so captivated the artist, as garish, vulgar, and in poor taste, which if you look around is pretty hard to comprehend.
This is such the other side of the universe for somebody who lives like I do. People who live in cities for whom a backyard this big is inconceivable. The idea that there's a certain type of personality who's drawn towards open spaces like this.
This country, it either embraces you or within a year it spits you out.
We reached the end of our trail at a place called Valley of Thieves, once said to be a haven for infamous cattle rustlers. Of course.
They call it the rabbit. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Jesus, I'm in my 50s. It's still with the jerks. I'm gonna find a distinguished segue into adulthood one of these days.
3 generations of Manzanares are here with me this evening. Herman, David, and Max. We'll do our best to put together a little meal.
Anybody want some coffee?
Yeah, I'll take some of that.
Cream, anybody?
Nah, who am I kidding? I'm a city boy. I need a cream.
Need some cream?
Yeah. Trying to get all Jack Palance here. Come on. Who am I kidding?
We're also joined by Dan Flores, respected authority, professor of history, author of the book Horizontal Yellow, Nature and History in the Near Southwest.
How Spanish is New Mexico still? I mean, how powerful are the echoes from Spain?
Spain was in control of New Mexico for far longer than Mexico was. Well, I think a lot of these New Mexican families are 10 generation and 11 generation. When they look back on themselves, they think of themselves as Spanish.
Those traditions, they've continued to thrive in these little pockets. We're cut off from Spain. So I once worked with some people from Spain, and they kept cutting up and snickering at me. What they told me was, okay, you can knock it off with the Don Quixote phraseology. It's the equivalent of me today talking, say, top of the morning to you, sir.
Really?
And they were like, stop making fun of us. And I said, you know what, I'm not making fun of you. That's the way we speak. And when we go see Grandpa, that's all he knows is 500 years ago Spanish. Maybe if we're lucky enough, we'll have Grandpa play his harmonica the way he used to on the cattle drives.
But I have a plan here on this meat.
All right, the meat is yours.
All right, good.
Just call me Cookie. Some cubed local beef, glowing hot coals, cast iron pan.
What are those, just pureed green chilies here?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna throw those chilies in a little bit and stew it for a few minutes and we'll be good. I just need a few splashes of like an open beer even. Beautiful thing.
Checking off the Chuck Wagon greatest hits, we got some beans, some potatoes, some cornbread. We do our best.
This is just about ready. Let's eat.
Dig in.
Well, we done good, gentlemen.
No kidding.
Thank you, Tony. This is excellent.
I'm wondering, you guys have been here for so long, your family. Could you live anywhere else?
Not me. No, not me.
This is home. The roots. I always get called back here. You know, I visited Paris and lived in LA for a while, and you know.
Paris is pretty great.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great, but it's not here.
Dad, I'm curious to know why you chose here, why you came here initially.
Open space, because I'd grown up in a circumstance where you couldn't see 50 feet. I mean, the forest was so dense. I used to climb up into the top of a tree on the highest hill just to be able to see over the forest. So there was something about the idea of being able to see the landscape that really compelled me. So
The big empty makes a real deep, deep sense to a certain type of person.
De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de afuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Canta el gallo con el kirikiri, kirikiri.
Since before 1598, when Santa Fe was established as a province of New Spain, grizzled frontiersmen and hardy pioneers have come to this unforgiving landscape to eke out a difficult existence. Welcome to Santa Fe today, where we can all live the Western dream and even buy a little piece of it to take home. You gotta love it. We pretty much eradicate the Native American culture, and now in newer, more politically correct times, we decide we love Indians and all things Native American. And we're kind of, but not really sorry. And how much is that bric-a-brac? But that's not all. The New West is inclusive.
Welcome to Santa Fe.
You got your whole spectrum of New Age crystal types seeking spiritual purity and intensity in the harsh yet beautiful landscape. It's the last place in the US you can wear buckskin and fringe without irony, while holding a Buddhist blanket. There is, buried deep inside this ordinary-looking five and dime, something truly authentic.
Hi, Frito pie and a soda, please.
This is the Frito pie. As American as apple pie or the Manhattan Project, and nearly as deadly. Chili and day-glow yellow cheese-like substance dropped like a deuce, another roller in the night, right into a bag of Fritos.
It feels like you're holding warm crap in a bag. Close your eyes and I put this in your hand. You would be very worried. Colostomy pie. I'm opposed to everything this dish stands for, and yet, it is also delicious. Neither the Frito nor the Frito pie are indigenous to New Mexico. They are actually Texan. New Mexico, you have many wonderful things. I think let Texas have this one. In only 6 minutes, I've managed to reach a depth of self-loathing it usually takes a night of drinking to achieve. Combine the Frito pie experience with like binge tequila drinking and a strip club.
A warm, spreading glow fills my belly as I set out once more in my mighty Ford Galaxy. Yet I am also depressed. Frito pie. I smell metaphor. Speaking of explosive diarrhea, did you know that the first ever atomic bomb was exploded in 1945 in the desert of New Mexico? Sushi bars, galleries, Reiki massage studios. Crystals? We got them.
I think I need to adjust my beds or something because I just see dark portents in all of this.
Well, there are a lot of
Just
dark
need some
portents.
food. All I've had today is Frito pie.
This food will lighten you up, I guarantee you.
Horseman's Haven Cafe sits next to a gas station and is about as far away from the plaza as you can get without leaving the Santa Fe city limits.
It has a special feel of chilies grown specifically for this restaurant and nowhere else.
I meet back up with Dan Flores for a little historical perspective over some of Santa Fe's most beloved New Mexican fare.
I've known people who have journeyed 300 and 400 miles to come and eat at Horseman's Haven.
Enchilada with carne adobada, cubed pork in red New Mexican chili sauce with beans and rice. Gotta have that. Some pozole, a stew made from soaked hominy and pork, and sopapilla, a fried bread like a spoon bread or a Johnny cake.
Did the early Spaniards, early cattle railroad men, and the people on the way to making this America, were they romantic about this part of the world?
They thought of it as a hard place. For one thing, it was exceedingly remote. When you were here, this seemed like one of the farthest reaches of the globe. I mean, initially, Americans began coming here because they perceived that Santa Fe was so remote from the rest of the Spanish Empire that it was possible for the United States to pluck it. I don't think anybody becomes romantic about it probably until the Taos painters arrive.
Starting a long-running tradition of artistic pilgrimages to catch the spiritual groove. Every kind of utopian dreamer, eccentric, new ager, they all came here in search of whatever. Chilies.
Chili. All right. Thank you very much. Level 3. That's level 3? Yes, sir. All right. Okay. We will be careful, indeed.
New Mexican chilies come in 2 varieties, red or green.
That's by the way, the state question in New Mexico.
Red or green.
Red or green.
Ordinarily, I like green. It's like Yankees or Mets. You gotta pick one. This green, however, is not ordinary green.
My face is burning off.
This ain't normal. Oh God, this hurts.
I'm gonna join you. Fate lies right here.
DEFCON 1, 2, 3.
It's a slow roll, too. First you think it's gonna be okay. then it's not. There's nothing to do but wait it out. I believe they use these same peppers in pepper spray.
For repelling grizzly bears, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. A shot glass of that would put you in the hospital.
No kidding. Everybody in the restaurant seems so calm. Maybe they're not eating this.
They're all just trying to muffle their screams.
History, they say, belongs to the victors. And here, where the myth of the American West took root, where so much romantic lore began, history was being rewritten almost as soon as it happened. This was never the big empty. As Dan Flores writes, the idea of a wilderness is itself a cultural construct. As early as 1539, when Marcos de Niza, a Franciscan friar, reported sighting from a distance what he called the 7 cities of Cibola, these were interpreted as tantalizing outposts of wealth, possible cities of gold. Coronado, the famous Spanish conquistador, quickly dispatched an expedition, and there were indeed cities.
This is Zia.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us.
The home of community leader Ivan Pino in Zia, Pueblo. I'm here to join him and his nephew Robert and family in a traditional hunt.
So we'll be carrying our shotguns, we'll be carrying our rabbit stick. We don't do this anymore, you know, it's
harder.
Yeah, it's always good to get a prayer going so that the animals can be willing to take their life.
The Pueblo, who lived here continuously since around 1250 AD, had long before the Spanish or anyone else arrived, a highly organized society. They built multi-level adobe apartment blocks. They farmed the land, irrigated crops using intricate water diversion systems. All this in what sure as hell looked like a harsh and unforgiving land.
Whoa. Whoa. This is good weather, though, for hunting, because it's nice breeze, overcast.
The breeze is beautiful.
Not too hot.
Pueblo long ago learned to adapt to hard times, dry seasons, war, incursion. There were years where there was nothing, and they had to deal.
Oh, come on, we found a pack rat.
Our first pack rat.
In preparation for the summer solstice ceremony, game like rabbits and pack rats are collected for the medicine man as a payment for his services.
How you notice is that there's some droppings, fresh droppings.
We see the droppings, we know there's one around. And this time of the day, they're gonna be inside their homes. There's too many predators around.
It's not easy. Once you find a nest, you gotta dig after the little burrowing bastards. You hack. You dig. You dig some more.
It's a lot of work for a small
I was
room.
just thinking that, yeah.
That's what our ancestors had to do sometimes, you know, when times got hard. Right now, there's this drought going on, and if we didn't have the grocery stores.
Right.
Then hopefully you flush one cleanly.
You get it?
Got it right here.
Right.
And give them a good whack on the head.
The ratio of work to protein is not in the hunter's favor.
Its whiskers and a little bit of his tail and plant it back in here.
To ensure regeneration of this once vital source of food, tradition and ritual requires returning a part of the animal back to the nest.
I will never go hungry.
Going for pack rats is really an homage and an acknowledgement of an important earlier time when that was all there was. A 25-year great drought.
Yeah.
As a city boy, I am greatly relieved these little critters are for the medicine man and that we won't actually be eating any of them. Instead, Linda, Ivan's wife, is preparing a pretty traditional menu.
Nothing is wasted when a big game is brought home. You know, we dry up and dehydrate the bone.
Deer bone stew, red chili stew cooked with dried elk and potatoes, pinto beans with chicos, that's roasted dried corn, and tortillas. And of course, more chiles.
We call this dish push around chili because gather and push around.
Push around till you see the one you want.
Yeah.
The chilies in the state are magical.
They're Zia chilies, not hatch chilies.
Yeah.
Ah.
And the seeds have been passed down from generation to generation and stay within the families.
What percentage of young people leave and don't come back?
Not too many people will leave.
Really?
No.
There people will leave, but eventually there's this yearning inside you that you want to go home, you want to learn your culture, you want to, be a part of everything.
It would be an understatement to say that the first Europeans who came into contact with Indians, to say the effect was destructive to the culture. And given that history, how American do you feel?
This village is unique in that we can easily just, ignore everything that happens out there and just keep to ourselves here. And we do that sometimes. We close the road and we take care of our own business here. But it really varies by individual and maybe even by generation. We have a veteran that all served in the armed forces.
Big tradition of serving in the military.
Yes.
Yeah.
We continue to be outdoorsmen, and we are survivors. I've dealt with the elements of the dust, the rain, the hail, but it made a better person out of me. We are who we are. We're still gonna be here.
UFO activity is spiking, and I don't need to look out my window to know that animals are behaving strangely.
What?
Backwards, your dad soon had injuries from the crash. Were later taken out into the desert, and they were buried there.
Might be some kind of vortex or...
A device is forced into my work.
Look up in the dark, the night sky, uncontaminated by the light of any nearby cities. You can see things. And of course, you've got a rich tradition of actual, real-life, spooky science fiction stuff. The Manhattan Project in Los Alamos, nuclear missile silos hidden deep beneath the desert floor. It's out there.
So, where are we?
Ground zero of where everything seemed to have started.
Submitted for your approval. Norio and his friend James, two men associated with the New Mexico UFO and Paranormal Forum.
This is where America's rocketry actually started.
At the end of World War II, classified units of the CIA and Army intelligence were busy sandbagging and sneaking away from probable prosecution cadres of the world's best rocket scientists. Did I mention they were Nazis? Oh yeah, many of them were sent around here.
Other very mysterious things even took place, allegedly, in 1947.
1947, Roswell incident.
That's right, that's still a mystery.
Some say, you notice how they always say that in those dubious, cheaply reenacted doc shows? Some say it was the remains of an alien spacecraft. Anywho, back then, they were working on some pretty cool stuff. For instance, a Mylar-like weather balloon designed to carry high-resolution cameras across the Soviet Union. When they got way up in the atmosphere, they'd pancake out like a flying saucer.
Might that explain the excessive zeal and mysterious behaviors? I mean, if one of these things crashed in the desert, you can well understand that a whole bunch of sinister-looking bodies would show up and start telling people never speak of this incident. And
you know, it's hard to say, but any military could create a cover story for anything.
Any possibility of like cyborgs or aliens?
Good question. I've heard that there is, and then I've heard there isn't.
We're taking you to a place, an undisclosed location,
Right.
What's known as Albuquerque's own Area 51.
There will be no probing involved, because every time there's like alien stuff, there's always probing, always with the probing.
Well,
I don't understand. It's like, if they've been coming here for years, haven't they done enough probing? Boy, if we were from like Ghost Adventures, we'd be really playing this up. Some say that this area was used for sinister experiments, German-speaking cyborgs. We need to find some crackpot scientician. This is even better than Area 51. This is like Area 61.
Area 61 turns out to be a fenced-off view of essentially Kirkland Air Force Base.
The leading edge, military research, development, and testing. At night, there's a lot of lights. It's a huge complex.
Fact is, there was, and still is, some pretty cool stuff being tested out there in the desert. Maybe for DARPA, or NSA, or the Air Force. Who knows?
Do you think there are other life forms among us or who visited this planet?
Yes, I do.
What do you think?
Well, personally, I have a different opinion. This whole alien concept is a cover story in order to conceal certain kind of projects. But I could be wrong. But I try to be a realist, but I'm open to anything.
What is for certain, and has been authentically documented on film, is that somewhere out there, among the silos, underground cities, supposed nuclear waste dumps, and alien burial grounds, there is a large animal and a hole in the ground. What strange beast, even now, is being loaded into a grave-sized pit in the desert for me?
Well, since the beginnings of civilization, I think one of the first things any society learned to do is dig a hole, throw an animal in it, cook it.
They call it around here a Matanza.
1, 2, 3, up.
It's pretty much an old-school version of a barbecue, in the sense that it involves burying a giant pig and the imbibing of much alcohol. About 20 minutes from the nearest paved road is a place called Dead Horse Ranch. People who helped us make the show, their families, friends, and no shortage of local New Mexican characters have gathered to partake in the festivities. There is beer here, plenty of it, local and delicious, and abundant. Did I say that?
Tony, need another drink?
There are very tasty and lethal, as it turns out, margaritas. And I believe, to the best of my recollection anyway, that I soon made the classic error of moving from margaritas to actual shots of straight tequila. It does make it easier to meet new people.
Let me ask you, why is it that any time an alien visits, like America, there's always anal penetration involved?
I'd never heard it before.
Really?
Ever. No, am I new to that?
But the pig! What about that body in the desert? Some say the tradition of the Matanza dates back to Moorish times, when the eating of pig had to be clandestine. But a bit of history we can verify, this pig's been cooked slow over hot coals for the last 17 hours.
I caught a peek on its ass. It looks delicious.
Frank here, he knows. He runs Pancho's Barbecue in Albuquerque.
Let's start sticking it apart, I guess.
Time to get slicey. I step in to help Frank break my piggy friend down into his constituent parts.
Beautiful.
First, off go to legs, what you'd call your fresh ham. Then your forequarter, your shoulders and whatnot.
Awesome.
The loin and rib section, your pork belly. Nothing goes to waste.
All right, now Mr. Head.
All those pig parts sent down the line to Harold, who's been using them for a veritable rainbow of New Mexican specialties. None of our 300-pound friend will go to waste. He's getting shredded for tacos, added to the beans, cooked up with pozole. It's going in the chili, red or green.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be beautiful.
The tenderloin I set aside for a little time on the grill. Everyone here has put in a lot of work, and they're hungry. time to eat.
I didn't know the show was about this, but I've been thinking about it a lot. This sort of cowboys, Mexicans, Indian, romantic ideal. A lot of Easterners came out here and fell in love with this romantic notion of the West and wanted to come out here and sort of kind of create their own version of the West. Exactly. Was that a good thing?
That's what helps us as a people, as a native culture, as a culture that's been here for these years. We invite you to come and to enjoy what we partake in. I mean, the Indians had the beans and the chili and the corn. The Spanish people brought the pork. I mean, and we put that together and we have this meal here.
People love the native culture. They love the Hispanic culture here. And it wasn't always that way when I was younger.
You played cowboys and Indians as a kid. If there's one American iconic hero, it's the lone cowboy. Does that have any resonance at all out here?
Every culture here, Mexican, Spanish, Pueblo, reservation, white, we all are cowboys here.
I am a native New Mexican. I've gone through strange phases of like my ownership of this place. It's this weird mixed bag of everything here all the time, and that is the identity. That I don't know, it allows a certain freedom.
My desire to wear cowboy boots and put a hat on right now, you're sympathetic to that?
Well, I'm from New Mexico, and yes, I would also like to put my curse word kicking boots and a hat.
It's very kind of you, thank you.
Well, sure.
Tony, I got a question for you. What do you think of New Mexico? Kind of, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to try to boil it down to a simple statement. If you're an Easterner and you come out to New Mexico, you start to see metaphors in everything. But actually, if you were to stretch a little bit, you could say that New Mexico is a perfect metaphor for America. It is a total mutation. It's got Spanish, Mexican, original American, and add a tinge of radioactivity. This is what America really is. To one degree or another, we are an immigrant culture. We are a gun culture. The expression of American power and identity has always been the lone cowboy with a gun. That goes deep. This is the heart of the American dream. Love it or hate it, this is it.
It's easily the most contentious piece of real estate in the world. And there's no hope, none, of ever talking about it without pissing somebody, if not everybody, off. Maybe that's why it's taken me so long to come here. A place where even the names of ordinary things are ferociously disputed. Where does falafel come from? Who makes the best hummus? Is it a fence or a wall? By the end of this hour, I'll be seen by many as a terrorist sympathizer, a Zionist tool, a self-hating Jew, an apologist for American imperialism, an Orientalist, socialist, fascist, CIA agent, and worse. So here goes nothing.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Found something good in this beautiful world. I felt the rain getting colder. Sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la.
I was raised without religion. One side of the family, long ago, Catholic, I think. The other side, Jewish. I've never been in a synagogue. I don't believe in a higher power. But that doesn't make me any less Jewish, I don't think. These guys sandbagging me at the Wailing Wall, they don't seem to think so either.
You're Jewish, my friend.
But only half.
Mother Jewish?
Yes, so that makes me a Jew.
Jewish. So now the first time, I need for you now bar mitzvah. It's 2 minutes between the mitzvah. See. Baruch atah. You righty?
I'm a righty, yes.
Very good. Say the bracha after me. Say the bracha. Say Baruch atah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav
וציוונו להניח תפילין. So now you bar mitzvah. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Thank you, gentlemen. I've never felt so much like I'm masquerading as something I'm not. I'm instinctively hostile to any kind of devotion. Certainty is my enemy. You know, I'm all about doubt, questioning oneself and the nature of reality constantly. When they grabbed hold of me and in a totally non-judgmental way, essentially, you know, God's happy to have you, you know, here you go. Oh, man, you know, my treachery is complete. Just because I was raised outside the faith with no particular attachment or loyalty to Israel doesn't mean that plenty of people on this earth don't hate me in principle. I know that. But the state of Israel, I never really knew what to think. First look around, it's like everybody says. It's pretty, it's awesome, it's urban, sophisticated, hip. Like Southern California, only nicer. Then you see the young draftees in the streets and you start to get the idea. This is Jerusalem.
I'm taking you through Damascus Gate, which is one of the gates to the old city. And these walls are pretty ancient. People say that the deepest go back to King David. And then as history progressed, they built up the walls so that the top bit is the newest bit.
And by newest, you mean?
I mean up to about to the Ottoman time, which the Turks left here about, 150 years ago. And the Brits came and they conquered us. I wasn't here.
Born here, now cooking in London, Yotam Ottolenghi is the widely known, respected chef and co-author of the book, Jerusalem.
Basically, this city was divided into two until 1967, when there was the famous Six-Day War.
Yep.
And the whole of the bit that we're traveling in now, walking in, is East Jerusalem. It's the Palestinian part, and that was, up until 67, belonged to Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's under Israeli control. Very controversial because for the Jews, for the Israelis, the city has been unified, but obviously for the Palestinian, they're under occupation as far as they're concerned. Just have to go for a typical falafel place because it's so much part of the culture here. And again, contentious because, Jews or Israelis made falafel their own, and everybody in the world thinks falafel is, Israeli food. But in actual fact, it's as much a Palestinian food, and even more so because, it's been done for generations here. And here, you get falafel that's just been fried. You don't get it any other way. And when I go to a place like that and I see he's got a few bowls left in the bowl from the previous customer, I don't take that. I want him to fry them especially for me. And that makes all the difference in the world.
It's a whole different animal, isn't it? So, is there a historically provable answer to who invented it?
Who made it first? The one thing that is very clear that is in this part of the world, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, it's been cooked for many, many, many generations. On the other hand, you get like Jews from Yemen coming here in the 50s.
Right, so they can say, hey, my great uncle was in Syria at the time, and with his ham, I remember distinctly.
So there's actually no answer to it, but the question of food appropriation or who owns the food is massive here. They can go on arguing about it forever. The old city is divided into 4 quarters. There is a Muslim quarter, there's a Jewish quarter, there's a Christian quarter, and there's an Armenian quarter. Each one functions independently, but the people that live in the certain area are all from that religion.
Right.
So here you see these Israeli flags over this house. So basically, Jews have bought this house, although it's in the Muslim quarter. And that's very controversial because it breaks the separation that people would normally expect in this city. Now we're walking in the steps of Jesus Christ, right?
As I so often do.
So this is Via Dolorosa, which is the last trip Jesus did before he was crucified. So people feel very emotional. They come here and they feel like, oh my God, I'm walking in the steps of Muhammad, David, or Jesus.
It's like Jesus was here. I feel like I should be more something.
A little bit more pious?
Well, a little bit. Well, it's too late for me. Oh, great. You get your own crown of thorns?
Yeah.
In answer to the question, what would Jesus wear? Oh, no. That's just wrong. Israel is bordered by Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. In 1967, after the Six-Day War, Israel took control of the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and annexed East Jerusalem. In 2003, Israel began construction on a wall along the Green Line representing the Israeli-Palestinian border. The wall now stretches 450 miles. When completed, it will span 700 miles, 85% of it in Palestinian territory. On one hand, there's no doubt that the number of suicide bombings fell drastically. On the other, there's this. We cross from Jerusalem into the West Bank, also called Judea and Samaria, also called Palestine. Since 1967, 500,000 settlers have moved here, all in contravention of international law, many in contravention of Israeli law, though in effect, it seems to make little difference. They're here and in ever larger numbers. This is Noam, one of our drivers from Tel Aviv, who I asked about the graffiti on this house near the settlements. So, what is price tagging?
If something happens in the settlement or some attack towards Jews, kids from the settlements would come and have a price tag for every activity. So they would come to a Palestinian village like this, they will destroy cars, they will write on walls like this. It says, against Arabs, the state of Israel is alive, and death to the Arabs.
Intimidating. I mean, you put 2 targets on my house, I'm moving. This is Eli, a settlement with a population of over 3,000, relatively isolated from the rest of Israel. Amiad Cohen is the chief executive of the Eli settlement and its former head of security.
Here you see from up above most of our town. You see the Palestinian villages all around.
I mean, it's an unusual situation. A lot of your neighbors would very much like you to not be here.
I know most of them, and most of them, they're happy that we're here. Because we gave them prosperity for the past 45 years. And wherever the PLO came, they lost it.
I'm guessing a lot of people would disagree with that statement.
We work with high-tech security, radars and cameras.
So from the high ground, you can see anybody walking at night. You could see from pretty far out.
Definitely.
And could you identify them after the fact?
Depends, but we have our protocols that we work with, and we had our successes.
We drive to Ma'ale Levana, another settlement a few miles away. Hot, sun-bleached, suburban feeling. Behind its ring of electronic surveillance sensors and security, everything they feel they need. A school, public transportation, and a petting zoo. Amakai Luria has lived here for 23 years. He's a winemaker and amateur cook.
Oh, pretty. Wow. You're not kidding around.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim. The salmon is marinated with pomegranate juice that on the season, I squeeze pomegranates and I freeze the juice so I'll have it all year round.
Where were you before here?
I was born in Pennsylvania.
So your parents brought you over at age 4?
Yeah.
Parents in their 20s with kids living in the relative comfort and familiarity of Pennsylvania, heading off to what must have, at least in part of their minds, been seeming uncertain.
Yes, it was very difficult for them. Almost all Jews say next year in Yerushalayim. It's part of prayers that we say all the time.
If I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about, look, the Bible, it's all right there. It all happened here. That's sort of a non-negotiable position.
You see prophecies coming true, things coming to life again, you know, mountains that nobody wanted to live on. Nobody dared to, for thousands of years, nobody wanted this place, you know? And then finally we come here and everything is flourishing again. It makes you feel good, you know?
You've been here since 90. You look over the edge there. There's an Arab village, right? How far away?
Yeah, there is one that you can see from here.
At any point during that time, you ever go to anybody's house, sit down and eat?
Not there, but in other villages.
Ever sat down at a Muslim table?
Muslim table.
Your host and everybody else.
Coffee.
But not dinner?
No, because I don't, as a religious Jew, I eat only kosher. So they respect that, so they don't offer me.
So I gotta ask you about something that troubled me coming up. The first house before you come up the drive to this village.
Yes.
The graffiti on the front.
Yes.
The targets spray painted on.
Yes.
Who done it?
Villains. Bad people.
Kids?
I don't know. Apparently kids. When you educate kids, kids are not able to understand complicated things. They see the world in black and white. When you get older, you're able to see the gray. And when someone hits you,
I understand why kids would do it. Given what you told me earlier, identifying the perpetrators within the realm of possibility.
Young people.
Why not paint it over?
Good question. I don't know. Well, maybe we should. You're right.
Elsewhere in the West Bank, just outside of Ramallah, meet Betty Sarek and Mona Enam, two members of a group of women who call themselves the Speed Sisters, the first all-female Palestinian racing team.
Hi, I'm Tony.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi, good to meet you.
When I'm riding a car, I'm the happiest girl ever. Racing, it's in my blood. Here in Palestine, it's very small. There's no roads. So when I drive, I speed, I feel free.
Did you find that people underestimated you at first?
At the beginning, they could maybe make fun of us, but when we got good scores, we win
Now
our
they know.
respect. Yeah. Well, the car doesn't know if you're a woman or a man.
Yeah.
A lot of girls want to join us, the Speed Sisters, but some of their families are very reserved. They don't like their daughters to be between men racing, you know? Palestine is a very reserved society.
So are things getting better, staying the same, or worse?
So you never know what's going to happen in Palestine. One day it's good, and the other day it's just, you never know. It's a crazy country.
The local police would prefer them off the streets for obvious reasons. But the track here, such as it is, has its drawbacks. It's basically a parking lot across from the Ofer Detention Center.
What do they think about this next door? Do they ever give you problems?
This is an Israeli jail. It's called Ofar. One time we were here with Speed Sisters, and there was problems because of the prisoners. So I just stopped my car over there, and I was walking. I wanted to see what's going on. And the Israeli soldiers, they came running at me, and they started shooting at me, and I got shot in the back. It was a tear gas.
The canister hit you?
Yeah. So my Speed Sisters, they took me to the hospital. I fainted.
Have you thought of challenging the Israelis to put up a team?
I can't race because my car is Palestinian.
What if they come over here?
They're not allowed to enter the West Bank, and we're not allowed to go to Jerusalem, so how can we race together?
Okay, silly question.
It's right there for all to see, and it feels like something out of a science fiction film. This is the wall. From the other side, from inside this place, for instance, the Aida refugee camp in the district of Bethlehem, it doesn't feel like anything other than what it is, a prison. Abed Abu Surur is the founder of the Al Rawad Children's Theater Center.
So we are at the north entrance of Bethlehem and heading to Aida refugee camp.
So this has been here since 1950?
Yes. It started with tents. People were under the tents for about 7 years. And later on, the UN saw that it was not temporary as it was supposed to be, so they started building what they call shelters.
First impressions of the camp, there's a remarkable number of kids.
Now it's about 6,000 people, and the 2/3 are under 18 years old, so it's a very young population. Unfortunately, with the continuous degradation of political and economic situation, we are in a situation where we have no playgrounds or green spaces anymore.
Children play in the streets beneath walls covered in images of martyrs, plane hijackers, political prisoners.
6,000 people. Of that number, 66% are under the age of 18.
Yes.
I don't care where that is in the world. That's pretty much a recipe for unruly behavior, I think would be the best.
Well, especially, yes, especially when you don't have any possibilities to evacuate the anger and the stress in a creative way. So after I finished my studies, I came back here and I started using theater as one of the most amazing, powerful, civilized, and non-violent means to express yourself, to tell your story, to be truthful. And this is, for me, the remedy to build the peace within. And hopefully help them to think that they can grow up and change the world and create miracles without need to carry a gun and shoot everybody else or explode themselves or burn themselves, but to stay alive.
Abed takes me to the camp's martyrs' quarter to be fed by Islam Abu Auda. She runs a women's collective offering Palestinian cooking classes, helping her provide for 6 children, one of whom is disabled.
In America, kids grow up with pop stars, sports players.
Yes.
Never a politician. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unthinkable for a child to look up to a politician or to look up to a military figure, sports or entertainment.
Yeah.
Here, kids 4 or 5 years old, every day, they're looking at somebody who, brought down a plane.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning why that is.
I know, yeah.
Do you think it's helpful?
Well, I guess we have a history. We are people who are under occupation. People honor their heroes, and their heroes are those who resist the occupation, whether they resisted it through armed struggle or non-armed struggle. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I have been in fight with some political parties when they put images of people who were killed in their own houses. Ahmed's sister, in the 29th of October 2001, she was killed in her kitchen by a sniper from the Intercontinental Hotel. But when these political parties take this woman and want to make a montage of photos with her carrying a gun to say this is the hero who liberated the Palestine, sorry, this is not true. This woman was killed in her house. You go today and ask the Palestinians who is the great hero. You ask these kids, who will they recognize? They will recognize a young man from Gaza who is an Arab idol named Muhammad Assaf, a singer who sings. He becomes more famous than Abu Mazen and Arafat and everybody else. This is another image of Palestine.
You could almost believe for a minute or two that some kind of peace, some kind of reconciliation, meeting of the minds, sanity is possible after you visit Majda. It's a restaurant in what looks like an idyllic village in the Judean hills, about 20 minutes from Jerusalem. It feels like an alternate universe for a number of reasons. Michal Baranes is Jewish. Yakub Baron is Muslim from a nearby village. They're partners, co-owners of Majda, and also married. They're unsurprisingly friends of Yotam. Together, they grow and raise much of what's used in their kitchen.
Very nice.
Their food reflects both their different backgrounds and their commonalities.
We're gonna spoil you now.
Yeah, here we go. Tell me about this. So you grew up in this town?
Yes, in this village.
Where did you grow up?
Tanya, near the beach.
Near the beach.
Yeah.
Not the neighborhood.
But we met in the neighborhood, in Kibbutz Kiryat Anavim, and we worked together in a hotel.
How did that go down with the families?
Wonderful now. Now wonderful.
Now good.
Yes, very good.
In the beginning, not so much.
Started a bit, yes, with a lot of questions, answers, and slowly they understand that we love each other and they can do nothing. So we continue, and they support us.
This is your special fried egg, sunny setup.
Farm eggs with peppers from your garden, tomato. That looks awesome beyond words. It is incredibly beautiful here. I don't know why I didn't expect that.
You know, a lot of people come and say, it's like Provence, it's like Italy, and we say, no, it's in Rafah.
You like okra?
I do. Roasted tomatoes, okra.
Onion and mint. And that's all it is. And what they do a lot here is just char the hell out of it. So it's like, it's really smoky just from being in the pan for on very high heat. So good together.
So, generally speaking, who lives in this area? Mostly Arab, ethnically Arab in this particular town?
Muslims, yes.
Only Muslim.
Just Michal, the Jewish, only Jewish.
Michal is the only Jewish in the village.
And this?
That's a zucchini that's been grilled, and then we use the dried yogurt, so that's the sauce. So it's like that intense kind of goaty flavor. Very typical for Palestinian cooking, right?
Oh man, it's good. I just had this incredibly delicious meal, completely oblivious to the fact that it's entirely vegetarian. If any of the vegetarian restaurants in New York served food that tasted anywhere near this, I would actually
go there.
Well, yeah, maybe. I'd consider it. And this?
Fresh zucchini with mint.
And the apricots, the little sweet apricots we had.
And all of this food is really intensely delicious. Are you hopeful?
Of course, I have my children. You need to see them.
I respect her religion. She respects my religion, my family. And together we can build something for our kids, our future country. That's what we think, and that's what we give the message for our customers.
Part of the attraction of this restaurant, the fact that it actually manages to do what not so many chefs try to do here, and that is sort of mix your Jewish ethnicity or background with Arab food.
Getting in and out of Gaza from Israel is truly one of the most surreal travel experiences you could have on Earth. Over 1.5 million people live in Gaza, most of them considered refugees, meaning they're not from the place they are compelled to live now. In most cases, they're either prohibited from or unable to leave. Israel decides who comes and goes, what gets in and what stays out. Apart from journalists, aid workers, emergency responders, very few people are allowed to cross into Gaza. In 2005, the Israeli Defense Forces left the Gaza Strip, and all Israeli settlers were removed. Now inside Gaza, Hamas is in charge. Considered a terrorist organization by both the United States and Israel, they got elected in 2006. This is Layla Haddad, a native Gazan, journalist, and author of The Gaza Kitchen.
The catches are not as big as they used to be, and that's primarily because the fishermen can't go beyond 3 to 6 nautical miles.
You could continue fishing, but what happens?
They'll shoot at the fishermen, they'll spray cold water at them, they'll destroy their boats, they'll cut their fishing nets, they'll detain them. So it's obviously really risky business. 9 nautical miles, that's where that deep sea channel is, where you're gonna get the really good catches. So Gaza is the last Palestinian area with access to the coast. That's really important to remember. You know, you have the West Bank just an hour away, but many of the Palestinians there have never seen the sea, have never been to the sea.
The Sultan family own a small farm in the Bani Sela area of the eastern Gaza Strip. Sultan and her husband are unusual in that they cook together. This is not typical in this part of the world or in this culture. They use their own fresh-killed chickens to make the Gazan classic maklouba, a traditional Palestinian dish comprised of layers of fried eggplant, tomato, potatoes, caramelized onions, and chicken, sautéed, then simmered in a broth with nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, and rice. It's a big family, children, grandchildren, all living under the same roof, and it can get chaotic.
So let's talk about food and eat food, because it's just sitting here. Tell me,
sure,
what do we have here?
Okay, so this is called maklouba or maklouba. Traditional made with lamb, in this case chicken. لا هم هياكلوا بعدين بس هو عشان التصوير بعدين they're very concerned that we're being very rude and we're not.
Yeah, eat.
We're not allowing the others to eat. He's saying, how can you be eating and you're letting everybody stand?
Wow.
For me, being from Gaza, being a child of diaspora, I always thought food was a really interesting way to be able to tell the Palestinian story. Being able to discover this lost history, this Palestinian past. Plus, the food is really damn good.
Right, that it is.
And it was, I think, also important to be able to provide Palestinians an image of themselves that they recognize, a very humane image, because all they're seeing in the media, whether here or there, whether on Arabic channels or abroad, you know, is these kind of very caricatured images of, you know, gunmen and, you know, wailing women and this kind of grim, you know, cinder block landscape. You're not entering into the private homes and what does a kitchen look like or what does a, you know, a family you see here. Plants and yeah. Do you like it, she's asking?
It's absolutely delicious. Really, really good.
Yeah? She wants you to open a restaurant for her.
Keep cooking like this. It's really delicious.
Gaza has 3 distinctive culinary heritages. Those who hail from villages that were either depopulated or destroyed in 1948. and they constitute about 75% of the population of Gaza. And they kind of bring with them their own distinct cuisine. That's very different from the cuisine of the city, Gaza City, which tends to use much more heat, much more chili peppers, from the cuisine of the coast, which is rich with seafood, of course, and a very sophisticated, very urbane cuisine.
Curious what everybody here thinks. In your lifetime, I guess the first question would be, in your lifetime, will you be able to visit Jaffa?
She says, you know, she hopes she can. She also hopes she can go to Jerusalem as well, so she's optimistic, yeah. نعم.
What?
He's saying that first he said, you're not allowing us to, and then he said, self-corrected and said, the Israelis aren't allowing us to.
Go.
بحكي لك روح بالنسبة له هو مش
روح ممنوع.
لا بحكي انه مش ذنبه هو يعني مش عامل شيء.
انا عارف مش ذنبه هو انا بحكيش عنه بحكي عن اسرائيل انا بحكيش عنه.
This is the normal tone of voice. He's not upset, by the way. This is how we talk. We yell.
What's he saying?
He's saying, but, you know, give me a permit. If they allow, of course I'll go.
Layla's got something to show me. A watermelon salad thing she discovered on a recent trip here that's really piqued her interest. So off we go. I figure this'll take a minute. We arrive at what looks like a pretty serious gathering. This is a diwan, and we're soon joined by Sultan's husband, Abu.
It's an area where kind of the elders gather to, you know, resolve community problems, to, you know, kind of advise.
All these guys are originally from Bir el-Sabi, now part of Israel. So they're bound together by traditions and a way of life very different from here, where they've been relocated and lived since 1948.
Does he think he'll be able to go to his ancestral homeland in his lifetime? His children's lifetime? What's his guess?
Yeah.
We will retain
whether now or
our
100
Quran,
years.
our Islam told us.
It's preordained, yeah.
The stone will call this enemy back me. Please kill him. And we understand that. We hope in of me, my son, my daughter.
So what they're making now is called fattat ajr. And ajr is basically baby watermelon, underripe watermelon. And this is kind of a specialty of southern Gaza generally, but also Sinai. And it's usually something that's made exclusively by men, as I was told here. So they begin, you can see over there, they're fire roasting the baby watermelons. They cover them with aluminum foil. In addition, they put them through a wire, kind of like a sort of rustic skewer. And then they just throw them in there. And then the idea is they take the pulp out. So that's what's going on. Hey, Mama. Come here. Yeah, and then what they do while that's fire roasting is they knead an unleavened dough over there with whole wheat, barley, plenty of really rich extra virgin olive oil. And then they throw that into the pit as well, or they dig a pit in the sand over there, and that's fire baked.
Right in the coals?
Yep, and then they mix that all together. Yeah. So it's interesting because right now we're about, 35 minutes away from Gaza City. Ask anyone in Gaza City if they've heard of this dish, and no. So even in an area as small as Gaza, you see this really wide variation in the... So they're going to clean it up.
I give you a copy, it's 4 giga.
Many, if not most of these guys, are not too sympathetic to my country or my ethnicity, I'm guessing. But there's that hospitality thing. Anywhere you go in the Muslim world, it seems, no matter what, you feed your guests, you do your best to make them feel at home.
Oh, we have to eat. Maybe we should. بس بدنا نغسل ايدينا فيش ميه. لا, you're supposed to eat this with your hands. Very good.
هذه بتاكلها لما تشبع مظبوط تقعد 3 ايام ما بتاكلش.
You're saying if you eat this, you shouldn't have another meal for 3 days.
Where does this dish come from originally?
This is a dish that's native to southern Gaza, the Sinai, the sort of the desert Bedouin areas.
All the food I've had so far in Gaza has been very different than in anything else I've had in the Arab world. Different flavor spectrum.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of its own little gastronomical bubble.
Why you not use this food?
You know, I find that the food has more flavor. I get a better sensory experience. حتى الأطفال لاحظ, even children, they like to eat with their hands. بالضبط. He's saying God gave us hands to eat with, not spoons.
One can be forgiven for thinking, when you see how similar they are, the two peoples, both of whom cook with pride, eat with passion, love their kids, love the land in which they live or the land they dream of returning to, who live so close, who are locked in such an intimate, if deadly embrace, might somehow, someday, figure out how to live with each other. But that would be very mushy thinking indeed. Those things, in the end, probably don't count for much at all. Natan Galkowitz runs a restaurant just 7 miles from the Gaza Strip.
You and your family have paid the worst imaginable price.
Yes, my daughter was killed by a mortar sent by Hamas.
In some Israeli towns and villages within close proximity of the Gaza Strip, bus stops double as bomb shelters, and air raid sirens warn of incoming missiles fired from less than a mile away. Rockets and mortar shells have been known to fall from the sky in these parts, and no one understands the consequences more than this man.
You were not a fervent ideological Zionist.
No.
You're not an Orthodox Jew.
No.
And yet here you are at the spear point, right at the tip. There's your restaurant.
This is a shelter.
There's a shelter. Here you are.
After the death of my daughter, I just start to talk. To whom? To people who want to listen to me. I know that my daughter was killed for no reason, and I know that people in the other side have been killed for no reason. Children, old people. I have been a soldier in Gaza. I saw very poor people. I know there is interest in keeping these poor people. You can go far, far, but the bottom line is let's stop with the suffering.
You know, I went to the settler community and
Nice people.
And I said to you, you know, they were nice. And you said, what did you say? You said they're all nice.
They are all nice. I know nice, very nice Palestinian people.
They're all nice, but if you scratch, if you push,
you have
they
to
all
push.
want, but they all want to put, they'll all say throw them in the sea.
Most of the people, they don't talk. They are very upset. They are fed up. And the same goes from the other side to us. You have to find the right people on both villages, also on the down, also on the up, and make they talk. And I am sure that is possible.
The opportunities to do that here are very, very, very limited, it seems.
I agree.
And I mean, one doesn't even have to speak metaphorically because there is an actual wall.
That is a wall.
Or a fence, depending on who you're talking to.
Fence or wall? Oh, no, it's a big wall. It's ugly. It's really ugly. You can see it is not far away from here.